Hey, everybody. You are about to hear a brief retelling of the movie Share. Enjoy the movie. A young guy awakens in an unfamiliar room, unable to recall how or by whom he was abducted. He scans the space, noticing only a shower and a toilet, and then he starts banging on the wall, pleading to be allowed outside. The man starts typing several commands that might be able to open a door when he suddenly finds a monitor displaying the word share, but nothing appears to be working. He complies with the computer's request to share once more. He starts asking the camera a lot of questions now that he's filming in an attempt to understand the situation, but no one responds. He tries using the computer after finding there is no water in it and the sink isn't working after using the toilet. The computer indicates that when he writes water, it equals 5. The man lies down on the ground to wait, not comprehending. Abruptly, he lets out a fart that earns him some points and lets him get the water he desired. The man proceeds to fart while wildly moving around the room after washing his face and discovers that this is a broadcast and actual people are watching him. However, it doesn't earn him many points. He attempts to turn off the lights with a few computer commands, so he sleeps on the floor. After a while, the computer reminds him to share once again, so before taking a shower, he vents about the whole thing. He hurries to start acting goofy again after a few points are scored, only to collapse to the ground. The points begin to rise a little faster as he moans in agony. Sadly, not much, because the only food they deliver him when he orders is a bowl of dog chow that emerges via a secret hatch in the wall. The man laments and tries to send it back, but his directions are ignored. Having no other option, the man begins to consume the food and even begins to pant and bark like a dog for the sake of the audience. This increases the number of watchers and money, enabling him to place an order for some clothing. Still insufficient, they give him some women's undergarments, which he models on air. That evening, the man falls asleep on the ground, sobbing with hopelessness. The following day, he begins attempting to amuse the audience as much as possible by making up goofy dance moves and saying whatever comes to mind. He eventually accumulates enough points to purchase an inflatable mattress and a t-shirt. Days go by, and he accumulates points that he can use to purchase nicer items like new clothes, shaving supplies, a mirror, decent meals, and even booze. He has no choice but to consume the meat even though he is meant to be a vegetarian. He finally comes to love it, and the crowd gives him extra points for it. He attempts to break the monitor with an empty bottle one day after drinking too much, knocking out the electricity in his room. The man tries experimenting, pulling the feeding hatch and the monitor, but nothing moves. His hand gets damaged when he strikes the screen out of frustration. Subsequently, he becomes hopeless and lashes out, pleading to be freed and hurling the few possessions he owns. He starts apologizing when he runs out of energy, but the power doesn't return until he starts coughing. Abruptly, the screen switches to an older man with significantly more belongings living in the same type of room. This elderly man says that although there are occasionally faults in the system, users can access the common network after they reach a particular level. This implies that the man can converse with the other individuals stranded here as well. However, no one is aware of their kidnappers. They all wake up here in the same way as the main character, but they have no idea how or why. At last, the main character has a companion. The elderly man actually never stops talking, flitting from subject to subject without much reflection, and his endless tirades win him many arguments. He's beginning to irritate the main guy, but one day he hears the older man coughing quite a bit. After attempting to get in touch with the man, he eventually discovers all the other channels as he works out which instructions to use. There's everything from makeup tutorials to cookery instruction to yoga poses by a stunning woman who makes the main male gawk at her for a long time. The man eventually establishes a connection with the older man after many false starts and discovers they both have a channel number. 14-year-old main character and 73-year-old senior man. 14 adopts a new outlook and becomes friends with 73. They sing together, share meals, talk frequently, and learn magic from one another. After a while, 14 is able to reach 28, the woman who practices yoga at night while the other bloggers are fast asleep. He sends her a contribution after praising her beauty and tranquility. The following morning, 14 starts shopping for better furniture for his room as he's still talking to 73. 73 tells him they can't stay on one level or else people will stop supporting them and liking them. To keep the public licking their fingers, they must continuously expand and enhance their content. From that point on, 14 tries a plethora of new things, including cooking, singing, stand-up comedy, working out, and the magic skills he learned from 73. His points and audience keep expanding, which enables him to purchase further items for his streams. Along with practicing yoga and trying to buy medicine for 73, who is often coughing, he also follows 28's yoga teachings. But he makes a mistake and finds himself staring at the room of 11, a woman who has just arrived and is taking a shower. When 14 suddenly shows up on her screen and accuses 11 of being the kidnapper, 11 becomes alarmed, but 14 swiftly sets the record straight. When she settles down, 11 suggests they establish guidelines for their cohabitation. When 73 enters the talk at that point, 11 asks the two men if anyone has ever attempted to flee, and 14 responds by telling about how he attacked the monitor and the consequences of that action. 11 believes they should continue to examine every piece of data they have in order to identify a weakness in the system, but 73 tells her she is simply being patronizing and rants loudly before canceling the call. 11 bewildered people question their selection, thinking it weird that a firm would feed and house total strangers. 14 clarifies that he was unimportant to anyone and acknowledges that his current existence is better than his previous one because he is now valued by someone. A little later, 14 begins a small performance with sock puppets, which amuses 73 and raises a ton of money for him. Day 14 chooses to give 11 a shower curtain one day, which enrages her since she wants to be independent and not be pitted. Over the course of the following several days, 14 engages the audience in drawing classes, but because he is a terrible artist, he turns the activity into a comedic skit in which he poses as the model. 14 continues to improve his room and gives all these wild ideas a lot of points. But 11 loses it and snaps, declaring they ought to launch a revolution. The three buddies argue over this, and it doesn't stop until 73 starts coughing too badly to continue. That evening, 73 starts coughing more than normal and chokes on it, which sends him into a mini convulsion and knocks him into the monitor. He is now immobile due to the weakness in his physique. While 11 tries to locate a helpful menu on the computer and unintentionally presses the wrong button, 14 begs his audience for assistance. All of a sudden, 73's room begins to heat up, and before long, flames are shooting through the walls, burning everything in it, including 73. Before his camera goes off, his buddies can only watch as 73 dies a torturous death. Following a period of time spent in alone to mourn, 14 gets in touch with 11 and assures her that she is not to blame. When 14 attempts one of his puppet acts because she won't talk to him, she declares that she wants to become wasted. Both 11 and 14 place large alcohol orders and begin drinking while feigning to dance together. They dance more wildly and even take off their clothes as they share the final memory of themselves before being abducted. When they use their hands to achieve the height of pleasure, they opt to expose more skin after realizing they are into each other. When they're through, they realize that this hasn't made them feel any better, and 14 acknowledges that he can still hear 73's voice. Like 73 used to do, he starts to vent about the issue and concurs with 11's previous strategy. Since 73's passing indicates that mistakes do occur, all of the bloggers should band together and look for a weakness in the system. Then, 14 gives a moving statement in front of the camera, giving him extra points, which he claims he doesn't want. He tells the other bloggers how much the number 73 means to him and implores them to begin searching for any information that could lead to an escape. 28 contacts 14 out of the blue, complimenting him on his speech and drawing parallels between it and her philosophical discussions regarding an individual's inner circle. When 28 calls her out on something that shouldn't be a metaphor, 11 becomes irritated and decides to end the conversation. Later, when 14 and 11 check the other channels, they are pleased to notice that several bloggers have joined them in their scheme. One blogger, for instance, has discovered a technique to create rain inside her room. Later that evening, 14 chooses to have a conversation with 28 as she prepares to launch her yoga stream. 28 claims that 11's nasty and overly irate attitude will drive them insane. She told 14 that his popularity stems from the fact that he makes people smile, which is extremely valuable given the status of today's society and her belief in maintaining a positive outlook. Subsequently, they begin doing yoga together, and their stream makes an irritated 11 wake up earlier than normal. A little later, 11 continues to watch the other stations, so 14 checks on them. As time goes on, more and more people come to terms with their idea and learn some neat tricks like manipulating a wall or even the ventilation system. While 11 is keen to chart the location and demolish it, 14 is growing less enthused. He informs 11 that some people are happy here and they shouldn't be fed resentment because 28 made him realize the importance of what he does. 11 makes the rebellious decision to chop off her hair because she doesn't think he's serious. Later on in the evening, when 28 launches her yoga stream, 11 gets irritated and tells her that they should have cohabitation guidelines. She views night streams as impolite since they keep other people up. Following a disagreement, 28 accuses 11 of using the other bloggers as her puppets. When 14 stops them, 11 explains that although 28 isn't his friend, she is. 14 starts to notice 11's point once more after witnessing another new guy enter. He then creates a stream and requests that all the other bloggers send him 1 point. When a bug happens, his points start to rise very quickly, leading 28 to label him as a thief and poisonous. A vengeful 11 causes it to rain in 28's room, and 28 responds by saying that 11 must experience the warmth of their light. When the heat on the walls is triggered, 11 soon begins to burn down, just like 73 did before the screen goes out. Abruptly, a door opens behind a distraught 14-year-old, who breaks down in tears. He quickly leaves, but as he does, he notices that his screen is back on. He returns to inform the other bloggers that this shows that they can accomplish goals when they work together. But the door closes, and 14 must now resume her performance.